Is it possible to develop an attraction to a woman if you've never had one? This whole discussion around attractions is such a tricky and dynamic topic, and something that's always changing, and it's never really concrete enough for any one person. But as it goes, if you have same-sex attraction, that's not a measuring stick on how your attraction to a woman might look to you. They are actually quite unrelated. From what I have learned in all the talks I have had with men and what they have experienced, it seemed that they realized that their same-sex attraction is only a byproduct of how he felt about his own masculinity. Some men felt drawn to certain types of men that they perceived as either more masculine than themselves, or that they had traits that they themselves would have liked to have or emulate or possess. What it came down to was that his own masculine sense of self was missing something. It can very well be that this lack of sense of masculine self can deter from your attraction to women, but it's not necessarily true. There is an idea on a most basic, non-scientific level that men are attracted to women, and that's just how God created the world. That's the status quo. On a little deeper level, there's an idea expressed that man has this wonderment and curiosity of woman and is attracted to that because she's so different from him. There are things about her that he can never have because she's a woman and he's a man, and that wonderment and differentness is what draws them together. Usually a standard, healthy, non-broken man with no issues is drawn to a woman because he's complete in himself and she's complete in herself as a woman. Two totally separate entities that come together to make a new entity, and that's the entity of a marriage. They are two pieces of one picture. They need each other to be completely different in order to make a new complete unit. They're not completing each other, they are completing a new, bigger picture, and that's the full marriage connection. It can happen that when a man feels incomplete with himself, that he cannot be a full piece of his half to join with the woman to complete the bigger picture. He is not man enough for his own liking in order to be drawn to her differences. In fact, he might even feel more like a woman in many ways. He can resonate more with her and is drawn to men because he sees men as being so different and mysterious. It might be a struggle for a man who longs for what men have to be drawn to a woman for what she has, since he relates more to her than to men. And this is where things can be a struggle. But it can very well be that a man, even if he's incomplete with himself, is still naturally attracted to women, and he might feel man enough as far as she's concerned, while yet still feeling like the world of men is so much bigger and full of wonder than what he possesses. So he's attracted to both. That's a possibility. But in the case of where a man is only same-sex attraction and no opposite sex attraction, as far as he knows, where the work needs to be done is on the level of his own self-worth. The more he works on himself and completing himself as a man and how he identifies with that, the less different from other men he will be. And the more he is in congruence with other men, the more he can naturally shift his mental attention to the differences of a woman. When he identifies more with a man than with a woman, he automatically becomes more different than woman. And this is a process of him completing his own self, his half of the whole that would allow him to enter a relationship with a woman. The more other she becomes in his eyes, the more he can be drawn to her in an attractive and emotional way. While this is not set in stone, this has been the experience of many men with SSA. There's even been a book published called Then and Now, which I'd be happy to send to anyone who would want to read it, which is a compilation of 50 stories of men who have seen this shift in their attraction on different levels through doing work on themselves. It is true that aside from all these men's issues, some men have no attraction to women because of wounds caused to them by woman figures in their lives, maybe an abusive or controlling mother or sisters, and these wounds have created a disgust and a repulsion inside of them towards women that would cause a blockage of their attraction. And that, like any deep wound, is something that might have to be dealt with in therapy. But such men have also found healing and hope in their journey to diminishing their SSA and increasing their attraction to the opposite gender. So I have reason to believe that there is indeed hope for everyone, regardless of the root causes of their struggle, and that it's certainly possible for an attraction to be developed towards women, even if one has never had one before.